A very good evening and welcome once again to Terrace Talk, and what an amazing weekend it has been. I know there was different disciplines, different sports, events happening, but the main highlight of the weekend is that great draw by the Kingdom yesterday against the Dubs in the All-Ireland Senior Football Final. And I'm sure we're going to have a very busy show tonight, and I'm sure there's huge listenership out there that were either at the game, listened to the game, commentary of the game, or watched the game yesterday, and some controversial moments, but what a great performance by our young Kerry lads in giving us another day out. And if you want to make any comments to our programme tonight, you can call us on 066 7123 666, text on 083 300 3300, also on WhatsApp, Terrace Talk on Facebook, or tweet at Terrace Talk RK. And I'm delighted tonight to be joined in studio by Donal, Denny, John Kennedy and Liam Brosnan as we look back at yesterday's events in Croke Park. A packed house, great Kerry support as well, and there's a real buzz around the county because a lot of the so-called experts out there said that Kerry didn't have a chance. And even yesterday, when the game was over, they still reckon we haven't a chance. And maybe it's the way to come in under the radar. Liam Brosnan, tell me, what's your take?
I suppose, Tim, look, we're talking about it with the last 24 hours, and fantastic to be in the position that we're in. Yesterday I thought it was magical up there. I think for everyone that was up there, the whole week actually, the build up, even the Radio Kerry build up, a lot of people said it on the way. This word believe and the whole that was branded all week, and there was something special. And I suppose 2-3 weeks ago when we got to the All-Ireland final, we were kind of saying, the Dubs, just that little bit too much for us. And as closer to Sunday it got, we were getting more confident, and it was only down here in Kerry, because everybody else outside of Kerry had no hope for us. And even yesterday, yesterday morning, the excitement of the team, is it going to be the 15? Who's going to be the changes? And it's something very special, All-Ireland final days, because with the excitement and the colour and the pageantry, the whole thing, and then the game kicked off, and by God, were we treated to a spectacle. You're not going to have a game that's going to be 100%, everything's going to be right. There was tours and fro's and mistakes made either side, and Dublin went up to 3 or 4 points, and we came back, and next to the sending off and the goal. There's so much in it, Tim. But look, from a Kerry point of view, I think we're in great shape. Young team, look at the experience they built yesterday. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, Tim, we were in bonus territory, even at semi-final stage. And when you're looking at this team, better we're getting.
Yeah, and that performance will bring them on.
And that performance is going to bring us on 100%.
John Kennedy, can I ask you, and it's come true to me today, was it a moment of genius by Eamon Fitzmaurice to highlight the happenings in the past inside the white lines with Dublin, and to probably touch on what the referee's performance was going in previous years as well?
I don't know, Tim, a lot has been said and written about it, being honest with you.
But I'm saying it probably, I'm not saying it helped Kerry, but to highlight it had to be highlighted, hadn't it?
Well, I suppose
maybe, Eamon Fitzmaurice and his team has been at the other side of this in performances, and he just put it out there, and I think I'd agree with listeners out there that it probably was a moment of genius.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a debate that'll go on, Tim, but I think no referee beats you, really. You beat yourself or you win yourself, Decisions will go against you. Like yesterday, there was decisions on both sides. Could Tom Sullivan have got a second yellow card, and ended up like Johnny Cooper? But rather than dwelling on the negative, I think, I'd agree with Liam. I think it was a fabulous day for Gaelic football. The football world needed that game yesterday. And, Kerry and Dublin bring the best out in each other. I think we said here the last night, Tim, going in, looking forward to the game, we had a question mark over our defence. Would we hold that Dublin attack? A potent attack that have really racked up huge scores throughout the campaign over the last number of years. And we felt we had the forwards to do damage. But like our defence yesterday, when you see Conor Callan and Niall Scully and Kieran Kilkenny and Paul Mannion, the way they were marked, were it not for the genius of Dean Rock, Howard had a superb game, I thought, and Cluxton. They kept Dublin in the game. It was a game we could have won, but what a game and what a performance by our young fellas. We should dwell on the positives. We're on the upward curve. We went up to Cork Park with nothing to lose, and we came away really buzzing and looking forward to replay.
Yeah, and that's what Denny Long. First of all, congratulations, Junior Minors, an exciting, a brilliant game of football as well. That'll take, I think they'll take a huge, I suppose, reward. A lot of the good work that's done at underage level now in Cork for that. The senior game, you're taking yesterday's performance by the Kingdom.
Yeah.
A lot of people expect it to go the other way.
Yeah, I think, Tim, if we're all being fair, it looked as if, Kerry were going up to give a very good performance, and, the chances of their winning were quite slim. I think, that was the general opinion, and I think that was a fair opinion going into the game. Now, I suppose what transpired, I didn't think it was on the cards. It was a marvellous game, full of everything, incidents, passion, great displays, but overall it was a huge team display by Kerry, both the players on the field, the players that came on, the management. So Kerry, in fairness, they did what I suppose all Kerry teams do. Kerry have the football know-how, and I think if you look back over the last 4 years that Dublin have won, and fair play to them, Dublin are a very good team, but the teams they met most of the time had the fitness and the strength and all that, but they lacked the football know-how. I think Kerry yesterday, and there's credit to the management, but when the management leave the team into the field, you can't do, the management can't do much more. And the players themselves, now, and the management, I'm giving them credit, but I'm saying once the players went inside the white line, as they
took
call
responsibility.
It, they played football. They played, the type of football that you required to give Dublin a game, and that was the difference between Kerry and the Tyrones and the Donegals and all them. They had the fitness and the strength, but not the football that Kerry can produce on any given day. And fair play to them, they produced it again yesterday.
Well, now we go to our phone lines. I should have Joe Brawley on the line. Good evening, Joe.
How are you doing?
Not too bad at all. Joe, you've come in for a lot of comments right throughout our country and our county this morning. What went on at half-time yesterday? And explain to me about propaganda down here in relation to the ref.
What do you mean exactly? What went on at half-time?
Well, apparently there was quite negative comments in relation that I suppose basically what you were saying was that down here there was an impact on what the ref and how the ref performed because of a few controversial decisions in that first half.
I mean, one of the talking points, obviously, it was sparked by Eamon Fitzmaurice. One of the talking points was that whether this will have any impact, and I suppose whether it did or it didn't.
No, you said it. You said it did, Joe. You said it did have an impact.
Well, hold on. Look. I thought I was coming on to talk about the game yesterday.
Well, but we have to talk about your opinion.
What an incredible game it was.
No, Joe, can we get back? Joe, can we get back to half time? Joe, can we get back to half time? You said decisions were influenced maybe by what happened down in our own county.
It seemed to me in the first half, and certainly there was a feeling around where we were. I mean, in that RT panel outside, Michael Murphy was there, Chair Brennan was there, Sean Kavanagh was there. I mean, people were giving each other, after the penalty was given, for example, which I don't feel that anyone thought was a penalty. It was an immediate, oh, jeez. And there was certainly a feeling that during that first period, that, and I mean, particularly I thought then, once it came to the sending off, that had obviously been favoured by what was in our minds about the penalty having been given. And I mean, I don't see a huge amount in this, to be honest. I thought, and I've done it many a time myself as a forward, I thought that Clifford played the ref. I thought he body checked, he anchored his right leg, he shifted his weight to his right side, he stretched his right arm across.
And it was
pulled
a clear
down.
Body check he was pulled to the. But was there not, Joe? Joe, you hold on for a second. You hold on for a second, Joe. Joe, no, please, you're not in the courtroom now. Joe, was there persistent fouling by Johnny Cooper?
Definitely.
Right.
I thought
and you have to be checked. You have to be checked in by the referee.
I had no issue whatsoever with the first yellow card. I thought it was a very clear yellow card. But my issue was, first of all, with the penalty, and then with the red card. I thought he was played by David. David decided there, he shifted his body weight to his right hand side, he planted his right foot, he was clearly blocking Cooper, he stretched out his right arm to block him. Look, I've done it myself, we've all been there, and you hope it'll work for you. Forcing Johnny Cooper to try and come around him And as soon as Johnny reached for him, well, then he went down. But for me, it was a clear body check to start with. And that's what I thought at the time, and that's what I think again watching it today.
But on the lead up to that, so we're in agreement. Are we in agreement that there was persistent fouling, Joe?
Well, I mean, if Johnny Cooper's on the field, there's persistent fouling.
Right, and a referee has to take action then, Joe?
Well, I mean, I just thought, just as Michael Murphy said last night, he talked about the decibels going up. I mean, 3 of the 5 panellists last night in the Sunday game thought it was harsh and that it wasn't a red card. And I took exactly the same view. You know, I think that once the referee, I mean, I just think he got it wrong. I've been there, I've done it a million times. And, you know, when you get away with it, it's great. And I thought that David definitely played the ref there.
Well,
I mean, it's not. You know, what's the big deal about that? I thought Kerry were excellent yesterday.
Well, I'm glad. Well, we all know that down here. But I think when somebody probably does analysis at half time, it has to be fair as well. That there was a number of body checks in that first half.
Did you think it was a penalty?
I genuinely thought it was a penalty because in my book, if you have your hands... please, Joe. Joe, video evidence, you should go back to the video evidence that was there. He put his hands... Joseph, listen for a minute, Joseph.
So minimal.
Joseph, he put his hands around...
Your own Pat Spillane said that it wasn't a penalty. He said, no, it shouldn't have been a penalty. And he was right, it shouldn't have been a penalty.
But sure, we're saying so...
Why are these things... Let me ask you this question. Why is there such vitriol and anger over the discussion of the game of football?
Well, we don't mind once it's fair, Joe. Once there's fair analysis.
I mean,
Joe, a number. Can I say?
The beauty of it all. Surely the beauty of this is the debate, the great chat that it engenders, and the fun and entertainment we get from. I mean, before the match yesterday, myself and Mickey Ned had a tremendously entertaining conversation, and he said to me, "Look, bear with me," he says. Kerry are going to beat them. He said, I think by a point. It was a fascinating conversation. And afterwards we met and he said, you know what? He said, I think Dublin are going to beat them now. You know, and these are points of view. They may be right, they may be wrong. But let's try and keep it, you know, let's try and keep it amongst GAA folk, you know, who all love the games.
But sure, I love the game as much as you do, Joe. But what I'm trying to say, a number of weeks ago, Joseph, you said as well that there was no team. You said the All-Ireland final was the one away down the road. It wouldn't go to whoever won the semi-final. That was the All-Ireland final. As far as Dublin was concerned. But yesterday, Kerry, the young guns of Kerry, went in and really tested it. Sorry?
Why are you so upset? Why are you so upset?
Because we are Kerry and we are proud of what our lads do. And if we think somebody's talking waffle, we'll have to pull him in it. And outside of that, Joe, how do you think the replay will go?
I said Pat Spillane afterwards on telly, I said, you must be very proud of the way your team and your nephew performed out there. And I genuinely meant that. Myself and Pat are very good friends. And I was delighted at the way Kerry performed. I mean, I was disappointed that you didn't kill it off, because I thought, you know, look, they were going to win it. Michael Murphy turned to me in the 66th minute and he said, Kerry, have this. And I thought you did have it, I have to say. You know, but I mean, it was a brilliant game. The big issue you have is this. This is the big issue you have. I watched the game again today, and in the 66th minute, young Spillane scored his brilliant left-footed point. Now, at that point in time, it was all Kerry. But interestingly, from that 66th minute to the 78th minute, Kerry didn't mount another attack. Dublin turned you over 5 times, tackled ferociously, and you would have thought during that period that Dublin were a man up. And that's what you know to be true. I mean, Kerry have won more than any other county. The key thing is those championship moments. It's all well and good competing for 65 or 70 minutes. Mayo have done that repeatedly on the biggest stage. The difference for me is that this Kerry team, potentially, their forwards are potentially the best forward line in the country. You know, I mean, particularly if Clifford gets the ball in the danger zone, isolated, I think he needs to get the ball earlier, because the Dublin defence will most definitely panic. Early ball. I thought that Seanie O'Shea was terrific yesterday. Obviously, there's a lot more in Guinea. I thought that after he missed the penalty, his confidence seemed to plummet. But generally speaking, I think that from Kerry's perspective, you'd have to say, look, we've gone out, we've played against the Dublins now, we haven't been wiped out.
So
you'd have to say that
we win the replay,
with 2
Joe?
minutes to go to half time and 5 points down, you would have thought, look, this is not going to end well. I was sitting beside Tomas O'Shea, and we all thought the same thing. This may turn into a procession in the second half. But, I mean, I have to say that I thought Kerry were, at times yesterday, really excellent.
Good stuff. One question before you leave, Joe. Can Kerry win the replay?
Well, you know, I genuinely, I mean, I know that people are saying, oh, they've lost their chance and all the rest of it. But what they did show yesterday was they've got all the skills, they've got the footballers, you know. I think maybe they're going to need another year. For me, if they take their goal chances, they can win the game. I mean, they should have had 3 goals yesterday. They could have had 4 goals, actually. And then, of course, they would be All-Ireland champions today. But all these, there are so many variables. I think that certainly if Kerry played to their absolute potential, they could cause a major upset.
Joe, I think you're a Kerry fan deep down. Joe, I've got to let you go.
Everybody's a Kerry fan. My sons came to the match yesterday wearing Kerry jersey.
Great stuff. It's a pity you didn't have one. It's a pity you didn't wear one at half time. Joe, I have to let you go. You're a great sport. Thanks for coming on Terrace Talk this evening.
Good man, and good luck at the replay.
Thank you, sir. We now take a break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry. Brought to you in association with BrianJames.ie. Leading the way for stylish menswear in Kerry.
Did you're very welcome back here to Terrace Talk. I've Liam Brosnan, John Kennedy, Denny Long and Donal Barry in studio as we look back at yesterday's game and just want to get through a few comments. Hi Tim. First of all, great commentary yesterday. Listen to it on the way home from the match. My young lads got great enjoyment out of it. Best All-Ireland I can remember. Instead of nitpicking on your show tonight, focus what talent we have and the serious management team. Small margins and 15 or 16 men we could have won, and the future is bright. You will be in Croker for a good few years, yet commentating on. And that comes from Sean. Hi all. What a display by the boys yesterday. It was there for the taking, most definitely, but at least we're not carrying out the post-mortem today as many thought. And that comes from Brendan in Boston. What are the GA doing about the 6 p.m. start on Saturday? Well lads, Jack Barry had a serious amount of ball. The changes Peter Keane kicked us up a notch, and Killian and Tommy were the difference. Unfortunately, Gainey and Clifford weren't firing on all cylinders for us, and the change made an impact by us. Those changes should make the replay decent. Nobody gave Kerry a chance, and the lead up to the game, all we heard was Dublin for the 5 in a row. And the simple fact, it's a 2-horse race and never right off the kingdom. And that comes from Timmy and Drummond. Tim, Gavin White is not a wing forward and should not be played there. Do the panel think that Shane Ryan's kick-outs were very slow and often kicked the wrong area, and easier options are available? That comes from James. Donal Barry, I haven't got you yet. I meant to get you before the break, but we met up with the great Joe Brawley. Donal, yesterday, a great performance by our young stars. Even in that first half, we went down by, even when they had the full complement, Dublin. Kerry were doing good things. They had goal chances.
I don't think anybody in Kerry doubts the ability of our young players. I mean, they bring a talent. They're naturally talented footballers that can play football. The one thing that we've always said about them is that they don't have the experience with it. And I suppose at different stages yesterday, we saw the best side of inexperienced players that they played with a bit of freedom. And then I suppose the worst side of it, that we didn't kind of close it up towards the end when we went a point up. The one thing as well, I suppose, really is that knitting all that youth together yesterday was David Moore in midfield. I mean, I thought he had an absolutely fabulous game. And unlike the pundits saying yesterday that he'd keep away from Brian Finton, he actually went to Brian Finton straight away, and he laid down the law. And I think it was very important for Kerry to win different aspects of the game very early. And I think we won midfield very early on. And if you think about the change, bringing in kind of a third midfielder, we had 3 across the middle. We had probably 4 forwards, and I suppose Gavin, in fairness, started 10, but he did drift back and play probably a lot of football, maybe as a 4th wing back, and it kind of gave us a bit of protection. And I think we played our best football in the first 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, we should have had 2 goals. We created 3 or 4 scoring chances that we missed, that we needed to be on the board. And even when Dublin went ahead, that time they got the goal and went ahead by 4, we still should have been way ahead of them. And if people are looking at where we lost it, I think we probably lost it in the first 15 minutes, and that was an experience. I mean, a lot of these boys, it was their first time walking out in front of 80,000 people. We were blowing the Devon stand, and you should see them coming around, and like the screaming, the roaring, the shouting, it was amazing. It was wonderful to see. Dublin have experienced that time and time again. They were laughing, they were joking. Our guys were kind of nervous, maybe a good nervous as well, but I think we just didn't settle as good as we could have had, and we didn't tick off the scores as quickly as we needed to build the scoreboard. Now, we done fantastically well to get back into the game. Obviously helped with being a player up, I suppose, for 40 minutes. But the one thing that I will take out of yesterday's game, all the way down, we stopped in Brackenbamas and we stopped over, and every Kerry person that we met, they all mentioned the one word: proud. Everybody was proud of the effort. We were proud of the way they played, and do you know what? That has knitted a huge unity, and we were talking about the word believe at the start. I think we will go into the next game
with that
better,
belief,
and with a huge belief, and a belief based on the fact that we've played Dublin now. They're not the all-stars that we thought they were. They're not above there in the heavens. They're just 15 other men, and we saw yesterday that, you know, even on the sideline with Jim Gavin, he's not the God Almighty either. You know, at the end of the game, he had a lot more questions to answer than Peter Kane. So I think there's huge positives.
Definitely so, and get through another few comments. Hi Tim, listen to your commentary on Sunday. What a game. Kerry were brilliant. Great game. Hope they can win the replays. No harm to quieten the Dubs up the kingdom, and hope Kerry win. And that comes from Mary O'Shaughnessy. Why give Brawley time on our radio station? That comes from Michael and Tralee. Well, Michael, because he gave an opinion and we thought it was good to question him, and I think I did question him on it. It is possible to move Stephen O'Brien across to the other half forward position. That comes from a Killarney caller. North Kerry lady said she hasn't recovered yet from the last 7 minutes of the game, and I think we were all in unison in that, because it was heart-stopping stuff. Mick from Summerhill, County Meath. Yesterday the young Kerry players came out with vengeance and they were great. Best of luck in the replay. Several callers wanting the Kerry County Board to get the game changed to enable more Kerry supporters to travel. Pat from Ballyhaig, Mark Griffin should have been put on a lot sooner, and that comes from Jack McCarthy. Hi Tim, Kerry did us proud and showed great character, and it wasn't looking good when 5 points down, but they came back and fought their way back. These lads are getting better with every game. That comes from Charles. Liam Brosnan, first of all, the Kerry selection yesterday, we went with 7 backs, 3 midfielders, 4 forwards. Is that fair to say, with the exclusion of Killian Spillane and Jack Barry coming in around the middle of the field?
Yeah, Tim, and I think, look, matchups, and we spoke about matchups leading up to the game, how important it was going to be, and I think that's went with the Kerry management put a lot of work into matchups. None of us know what's happening behind closed doors. Everything is shut down, and we thought yesterday, I suppose there was a few surprises. There was humming and hawings around before the game that Jack Barry was going to be starting. I personally didn't think he was going to be starting, because he hadn't started in a couple of games leading up to it. He was coming off the bench. I thought, in All-Ireland final day, maybe you need to be playing a bit more football, but by God did he proved me wrong and proved a lot of people wrong. He had a fantastic game. I thought the Kerry management had all the matchups perfect. The one thing I was surprised with was probably Gavin White. It didn't really fall from yesterday. Jack McCaffrey, he was picking up Jack McCaffrey, but at the same time he wasn't picking up Jack McCaffrey. You know, so I was
Gavin, to be fair, and I suppose he's not a wing forward, is he?
He's not a wing back. Yeah, and we've hit that a couple of times here in different shows that, you know, he's more of a wing back. He likes his back to the goals, you know, and facing our goals. But I think he's struggling in that position. Not only yesterday, but I think with the last couple of games in there. Like, he's a good footballer, but Dublin did target him as well, Tim, yesterday. If you study the game, the kick-outs, you know, the goal came from, they were hitting the kick-outs to his side. You know, he's run out. You saw a couple of Dublin guys when they got the ball and they saw Gavin White was in front of him, they actually went at him and they used the handoff to get by him. So Dublin had their homework done. And you see, Gavin's a young fella and he was captain. He did a lot of pressure on his shoulders yesterday.
Well, he's taken out of I suppose, in an uncomfortable place he is at the minute, because he's taken out of a position to try and do something else.
Exactly. And I'll throw a spanner in the works here again, Tim. It goes back to our discussion that we had here a couple of months ago about the Kerry captain and the county championship. You know, I honestly do think that you should be, like, yesterday was a big day for it. That was his first All-Ireland final and he had to lead Kerry out. Now, we can all say it's a massive honour for Crokes, massive honour, but like, it puts a lot of pressure on a young fella.
Of course.
No, you should be looking at a captain there yesterday, like the Paul Ganey guys have a bit of experience. You know, David Moran yesterday was a leader. You know, that's the cap. Let him. He's used to it. You know, so that'll open another can of worms out there about captaincy. But overall, I thought, look, for a bunch of young fellas playing their first All-Ireland final, like Donal said, we left the place proud.
Yeah, definitely so. And of course, Joe Brawley was on earlier that a lot of people said to him yesterday, even Pat Spillane, that it wasn't a penalty. Well, a dub and a former dub said yesterday it was a penalty. That was Charlie Redmond on one of the other radio stations said it was definitely a penalty. And Mike Moriarty, I think it's about time they stopped being at the referee. How many matches Kerry have played under Dave Goff? They've played 6 matches, won 4. Now, there's nobody on about the ref's performance yesterday. We were just highlighting what was going on in the lead up to it. I didn't tune in to listen to Joe Brawley. We were sick and tired of listening to him, and that's Jerry Walsh. We now take a break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry. Brought to you in association with BrianJames.ie. Leading the way for stylish menswear in Kerry.
Indeed, you're very welcome back here to Terrace Talk as we chat about yesterday's All-Ireland football final where it ended in a draw. Kerry 116, Dublin 116. Of course, I've Donal, Barry, John Kennedy, Denny Long and Liam Brosnan in studio. Those comments still flown through to us here. Ref was good. Pity Kerry didn't do a Munster double. And Denny Long, that's come from Mike in Beara, County Cork. So the Cork people are behind us. Why do we not go man-to-man on Cluxton's kickouts, especially with the extra man in the second half compared to Shane Ryan, who was having difficulty finding his man because Dublin were pushing up on our kickouts, and also we need to get the ball faster to the forwards regards to him. Hi Tim, you and Ambrose were fantastic. Even though I was at the game, I listened to the game on the way home at 9:30. Massive game for our lads yesterday. Also, after your conversation with Mr. Brawley, if I ever go to court, can I call you to be on my defence? Tim Moynihan, about the only person to put it up to Joe Brawley, really enjoying the show. That commentary was A1. Well done lads. That comes from Mary and our Fert. Hi Tim. What the Sunday game panel didn't highlight last night was from the 54th minute until the 77th minute, Kerry outscored Dublin 1-4 to 2 points. That says a lot about Kerry. Dublin was hanging on. Great show, Tim, and that comes from John in Castle Gregory. John, that first half as well, I won't say a sign of weakness, but why didn't Jim Gavin change, either move him into another position, John Cooper, because he knew he was under pressure, because the way the ref was playing it, he could see there was persistent fouling, to be fair.
Yeah, it is a Jim Gavin has been a very astute manager, and his record speaks for itself. Yesterday wasn't his greatest hour now on the sideline, I'd have to say. That was one of the things.
Can I question you on the astuteness now?
Yeah.
That Dublin are always on top against teams, right?
Yeah.
That they don't have to do a whole pile. They just stick rigorously to their system. But when there are teams asking questions of them, what can they do? Has he come up trumps in the past? And it'd been easy to say he's won 4 in a row.
But to be fair, Tim, they've won 3 All-Irelands, 2 by a point and another one by 2 points.
But is that down to a system, John? That's
well, it's down to a system, but he up to now, he seemed to make the positional switches and the substitutions at the right time. They made an impact. A bit like our bench yesterday, Tim. Our lads made an impact. Yesterday, everything he did Dublin, did their subs coming on have an impact? McMenamin, no. Diarmuid Connolly, no.
But John, why do you think he didn't change? Is there this sort of, I won't say arrogance about Dublin, is there this belief, sure, he'll be alright?
Well, we've said it here a few weeks ago, Tim, and I said it myself. The Dublin defence is not as composed, they're not as good as they were. Philly McMahon was a rock of the Dublin defence. He's not there. Keane O'Sullivan was superb as a mopper up and as a man that stayed on the D, and he gave him that stability from the half-back line. Those two weren't playing. And there's question marks over them. The high ball going in caused a lot of problems when Tommy Welsh went in there. But to answer your question, David Clifford had the Indian signing Johnny Cooper. He had him under pressure. He got the yellow card. Most management teams would have changed. Maybe he thought he wouldn't get the second. A man of his experience, he got caught.
But you would see, a good manager will see that in the future, this guy, Kerry are going to continue to play David Clifford if he's beaten his man.
Yeah,
you're in trouble straight away, though.
Is it that he thought he hadn't another defender capable of marking David Clifford?
That's the point.
Is that another one? We don't know. Who else would you put on him? Maybe Mick Fitzsimons, who was doing quite well. But Cooper is a tough defender, and he was going into Clifford, and he came off unlucky. He plays on the edge, and there were 2 probably innocuous enough challenges, but David Goff was.
But there was more than that involved, John.
There was more than that, Tim.
Yeah,
there was. Yeah.
We related it in the commentary as well.
There's no question. But Dublin, all good teams play on the edge, Tim. And yesterday wasn't there. Dublin weren't allowed to play well. And as I said previously, there have 4 of the top forwards in the country didn't play yesterday. Paul Mannion kicking the ball off the outside of his boot up in the air. We haven't seen it all year.
It's because the pressure coming from Kerry.
Serious pressure by Kerry. And when Kerry got the goal, Tim, they were coming in waves. The disappointing thing for me was when the game was there, in my opinion, to be won, we didn't attack it. we didn't take it on. I think we were a bit ponderous. We got caught in possession twice. David Moran and Jonathan Lyon. Lyon was unlucky he didn't get a free in front of the Hogan stand. Kind of waited for it. That was the difference. I thought we should have gone at it and get that other point, which would have sealed the victory. But look, we won't dwell in the negatives. Superb display, and we should be praising these young lads tonight for the performance against arguably.
There's nothing negative tonight.
We're forgetting Dublin were going for 5 in a row. A superb team,
young team,
seasoned campaigners, and they were put on the back foot, and they fought for their lives, and they have to get credit. With 14 men, they were coming up
great character.
Great character.
Oh yeah, they would, like you say, they wouldn't be going for 5 in a row if not. Another defender, Denny along, that was under pressure was Johnny Small. That these guys forwards were turning and they were under pressure, and it's very hard. I suppose Kerry have to exploit that then, because if you're on a yellow, the next kind of contact, you're under pressure to get a card and you're down another man.
Yeah, well, I think, what John said there, that if you look at Dublin and Jim Gavin over the last 4 years, they really didn't get Mayo ran them close on a few occasions and all that. But yesterday was really the big test for Dublin, and it came, because Kerry went out with all guns blazing and attacked him. Now, Johnny Small, I thought it was a mistake by Gavin to put him on David Clifford. I would have put Fitzsimons on him from the word go, because he's as tall as him,
he's a big man,
he uses his hands, whereas Johnny Cooper is a body man. He's in around you, and there's a half a hold or a bit of a hold, and when that's going on, David Clifford exploited that as
and the smaller man is always under pressure, especially with such a skillful player.
And a lot of the decisions could have gone either way, in all fairness. But Johnny Small is that type of, he's a terrier attacker, and he was giving away a lot of height to Clifford. So that's a mistake Jim Gavin made. But going back, Jim Gavin had quite an easy run up to yesterday in lots of ways, is that all his subs, everything worked, but simply because they were steamrolling teams. And I think Jim Gavin will come along and he will look today and he'll say, do you know something? I need 2 or 3 switches or 2 or 3 new guys for the replay. So he probably learned more than Kerry in a way, because a couple of his players are just not good enough anymore.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I know I will be speaking about the second half later, but he seemed to have the legs anymore, Kevin McMahon, because anytime he's a danger man when he has come on against Kerry in the past. But that's something we'll touch later on in the programme. Donal, one thing, and I watched the game again today. Michael Darragh Macaulay, Jack Barry was running from midfield right, hitting that D, and he was reaching after him. So Jack Barry has the legs on Macaulay as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose in fairness to Michael Darragh Macaulay, he's the kind of player he's been a part of the Dublin team in and out,
yeah.
And
suddenly he's starting,
and suddenly he's starting again. And yesterday, I suppose he was found out. He didn't have the legs. He made a couple of desperate attempts, and I suppose he was shipped ashore fairly easily as well. I suppose the one thing about Jim Gavin is that, like a lot of managers, he has a lot of loyalty. I suppose if you think about it, a lot of these boys are there since 2011. Some of them are looking for their 7th medal yesterday. And I suppose at times a manager, puts loyalty maybe ahead of a bit of common sense, or maybe we saw a situation where Brogan, who was 35 years old, he didn't make the match day 26. And then you have guys like Kevin McMahon and Donal, and Diarmuid Connolly is obviously the big talking point. I mean, not only did he not play up to the start of the year, he jumps ahead from 26, and yesterday what had he on his back was he 18. He was quite an assured number. He was actually just the same number. He was actually a number ahead of Jack Sherwood on the Kerry team. So I mean, all of a sudden, Jim Gavin, I personally think, is falling down the loyalty side of it. There's rumours that if he won yesterday, it was the last time he was out the gate and gone away home. So I think yesterday he was a lucky man to get over the line with a draw. He had an awful lot of loyalty in Johnny Cooper. Johnny Cooper picked up his first yellow card in the 17th minute. John Small picked one up in the 29th minute. That was 2 of your backs under severe pressure, and then obviously Johnny Cooper got turned. If you look at Kerry's first yellow card in the whole game came in the 48th minute from Tom Sullivan. They didn't pick up cards, which tells me that their backs weren't, while they were under pressure, they weren't under pressure to foul. And if you looked at the game, like you said, a lot of the Kerry defence was, the numbers were there. They didn't commit to the tackling, and maybe this might go back to the Donny Buckley situation as well. They didn't dive in, they didn't foul, they didn't give away frees. Even the free that was given away at the very end, it was way over on the sideline. It wasn't in front of goal or anything like that. So I think, that Jim Gavin yesterday probably got a wake-up call, and I would think that if Jim Gavin goes back into his dressing room, not only will he make 2 or 3 changes to the 15, he will make 4 or 5 changes to the match day 26 as well, because there's a lot of good players in the Dublin panel that he'll have to bring in now to win the game, whereas maybe with a lot of hype and complacency in the 5 in a row, it's hard not to get carried away with it, particularly with a Dublin media driving it on radio and TV night and day. So do you know what, I think a bit of that fit into Dublin yesterday.
Liam, can I, before I read comments, can I just mention about it's another side of it now, the media side of it, that they are hyped up in Dublin, because we could hear it yesterday at the press conference as well, and he, no different to Peter Keane protecting his players, Jim Gavin is doing it the same way, because I think maybe I got under his skin yesterday. I was asking him that, why didn't they make changes when they see that Johnny Cooper was under a small bit of pressure, and he just answered my question with the word no. Could things be getting at this Dublin side now? And you're smiling when I'm asking you that.
What did we call him? We didn't call him Joseph or anything.
No, I dressed him as Jim, and I just
James,
made that point, and I think he saw my Kerry shirt on as well, my Radio Kerry top. But like, when you're in a fight, it's just the point I'm making is that there's a lot of pressure now on Dublin.
A lot of pressure on Dublin, and I think yesterday,
and even the Dublin media, even after, and that's it can be pretty annoying. There's a number of articles written today that Kerry have blown their chance, but that's brilliant for Kerry.
Brilliant for Kerry, yeah. And I do think yesterday was the first sign in the last 5 to 6 years that we see cracks coming in Dublin. They've been saying it with the last couple of months, that Jim Gavin is this and he's a genius at this and that, but yesterday I think his interview after the game, you could see there was pressure.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at the Dublin team, and I suppose it's somewhat similar to us years ago. When our heroes and when our stars had reached the peak and they were coming down the other side. I do think that's where Dublin are at the moment. The Michael Darras, the Brogans and all these, like the Cluxtons, they're all nearly coming down the other side now. And I do think that there is a few cracks. And even the Dublin supporters yesterday, the last 10 minutes. They were the 5 in a row wobble was starting to,
and the hill was quiet.
The hill was quiet for a while. We had him rattled, and everything is looking good for Kerry. Even if we don't win this, Tim, in 2 weeks' time,
we know now we can get.
We know now that we have a team that, like one of our listeners sent a text there, you will be doing a lot of commentary above in Dublin in the next couple of years.
Yeah, definitely so. Tim, Gavin White is not a wing forward and should not be played there. Do the panel think that Shane Ryan's kick-outs were slow? We got that comment before. Why haven't the referees been taught the rules of the game? The penalty should have been retaken. And of course, that we've seen photographs of that Stephen Cluxton was well off his line. Why does everyone know that except the referees? Good man, Timmy. You showed it. You shoved it on to Joe. Cooper also pulled O'Shea by the shirt in the box after 6 minutes. He was very lucky to be on as long as he was. 11 frees to 2 in Dublin's favour in the second half as well. We now take a break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry, brought to you in association with BrianJames.ie, leading the way for stylish menswear in Kerry.
You're very welcome back here to Terrace Talk. I've Donal Barry, Denny Long, John Kennedy and Liam Brosnan in studio, and those comments coming through to us. Hi Tim and panel, great performance yesterday from the team and management. A few critical mouths were shut yesterday. Hopefully it will instill in the players and they're as good as the Dubs, and that comes from Brendan of Killarney and Offaly. Hi lads, great show. What do you think of our goalkeeper and his short kick-outs? He was in no rush back into his position. Dangerous play, Jim Gavin. I'll be taking note, or will be taking note of that for the replay. And that comes to Christy from South Kerry. A mighty game yesterday. The atmosphere in the stadium was unreal. Sean O'Shea, what a player. The coolness of the man to kick those frees inside that pressure cooker. And that comes from Mossy. And knowledge is power, and Kerry will have learned a lot themselves from Dublin. The experience Kerry gained yesterday was immeasurable and will be a massive help in the replay. Congratulations also to a great event last Thursday night in the Rose Hotel, and that comes from Doreen Moore in Tralee. Hi Tim. All Kerry people thought Kerry were going to win yesterday and stop the 5 in a row. They did not win or lose it yesterday. Are Kerry people disappointed today? No score in the last 10 minutes. Pat Kelly in Kilrush. First half we lived on freeze. I think that's is it a harsh comment in the sense that a lot of effort went into Kerry in that first half. Because let's face it, John, that the bookies had something like 6-1 on for Dublin. Kerry were 9-2 or 5-1. That Dublin were supposed to wipe us yesterday by a lot of people out there, and we have to give credit to that Kerry performance in the first half.
Yeah, Tim. Look, repeating what I said earlier, we can't give enough credit to this Kerry team because we're playing a team that have demolished teams.
Putting up scorelines of 5-21, 5-22.
They're scoring for fun, and like Denny said, they're bringing on guys and they're continuing the scoring. And yesterday we stopped that. We had a game plan. It worked. We can say about Gavin White, he was very unlucky for the goal, Tim, because Jack McCaffrey took off when Dublin gained position initially. Correct. He took off like a sprinter. He just got caught and, probably playing out of position. But the idea was to match him for pace. Jack McCaffrey is one of the top players in the country, and he'll be probably Player of the Year. Outstanding performance. He kept Dublin in it. But from our performance, we did really, really well. Not alone did we match them. We had them under pressure. They were hanging on, even though they had 14 men. And sometimes that can be disadvantage. We've all been
some teams play better with 14.
Absolutely. It creates space and that, and what you do with the extra man. And yesterday, supposed to be fair, Paul Murphy was playing as a sweeper again yesterday. I thought he did it very, very well because Dublin couldn't get the diagonal ball in that they get in to either Rock or to Paul Mannion. They were forced to kick it straight on. It gave our defenders a chance to attack it, and we did attack it. And in fairness, apart from the goal, they didn't create goal chances. Dublin are a goal machine. They usually get them. Callahan going through. They were checked. Jack Barry had a challenge in Johnny Cooper early on. He set down a marker, and I was delighted for him because he's a player that his form has been indifferent. What a performance yesterday to spring him out of the blue, the way he played.
And a lot of football played.
Not a lot of football. The surging runs. It has to be good for Jack Barry's confidence because we have said it here in the studio before. We want Jack Barry going well with David Moran, and that's the launch.
They complement each other.
Correct.
Definitely so. Hi, Tim and lads. Shawnee O'Shea had a 100% record yesterday, 10 shots and scores 10 points. Yeah, an excellent performance by the Kinmare Shamrocks man. Only for Hawkeye yesterday, we would have lost the game by a wide. Denny Long? Yeah. Was there Hawkeye in your day?
There was probably Hawks, all right, but definitely no Hawkeye. No, Tim, again, I'm delighted that there's Hawkeye, and I think the GA should look at it for 3 or 4 or 5.
Because a lot of teams have been hard done by over the years as well, when it was over the bar and it was wide.
I guarantee you, if you could look back and analyse games going back 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, you would see that there was a lot of scores that were way wide. Umpires, it's nearly impossible because umpires are watching the match. And they forget about the ball. I know Liam was an umpire for a long time, but they're so interested in the game itself and they're caught up in it. No, the Hawkeye came in yesterday and he disallowed the point. It looked as if it was a point, but Hawkeye said no.
Would you like to see Neil on that big screen in Croke Park? Donal Sullivan on Twitter. Hi Tim, can you please tell me where they got 7 minutes of injury time in that game? A great performance from this team, this upcoming team. We'll win many All-Irelands in the next 10 years and the future looks bright. Hi, can you ask the panel, have Kerry shown their hand to Dublin after yesterday's game? That comes from Richard in Listowel. Lads, we put fear of God into the Dublin team yesterday. Besides the replay in 2 weeks' time, this Kerry team will win 5 or 6 All-Irelands on their own. That comes to John in Arfert. Good evening all. The 16th man on the Kerry team gets my man of the match. Wonderful supporters in Croke Park voiced their delight and loud and clear. Also the Kingdom in green and gold, bunting and flags helped everyone beforehand believe. Of course, that word coming from Ambrose. Looking forward to the 14th, the return of Sam to this, come back to his own home, and that comes Kerry Abu. That comes from Margaret. Donal, going in at half time, man down, of course, Dublin, but from a Kerry point of view, we still had to bring back that 4-point deficit.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose the thing about the Dublin sending off, it probably came at a great time for them because, they could retire back to the dressing room nearly 40 seconds after and, they could sit down. Sometimes you get a guy sent off and it's 5 or 6 minutes of playing time before you realise who's picking up who or whatever. So that was an advantage for them if there was ever to be an advantage of going down the man. It equally probably would have maybe torn up Kerry's book as well because maybe they had plans to bring in certain players at half time or maybe a small bit earlier, and I suppose then they would have to caution themselves and say, listen, we have an extra player. We're not playing that particularly bad. I mean, as I said, we had created chances, we just hadn't scored chances. And I suppose the one thing about it is that you still had that bit of fear because you saw Dublin come out against Mayo and God help us, they blew them away in a matter of minutes. And where we were sitting, that was certainly a conversation point. And that, if Dublin get a goal here, all of a sudden they're up 7-8 points and they're probably out the gate. But as John said, they never looked like scoring a goal. They never really looked like opening up. They were dangerous, definitely. But the amount of times that they came forward in droves and then suddenly stopped and didn't take it on. And the one thing that Dublin done yesterday was that I thought was hugely uncharacteristic of them was that they started taking pot shots from all over the place, and normally they're not like that. Normally they're cool and calculated, and they give it to the right guy in the right place.
They couldn't break down, Kerry.
They couldn't break down. And you even see Dermot Connolly, he kicked the ball from the middle of the field. It was going wide from the minute he kicked it. At a stage of the game when he needed to hold it. But I suppose the one thing about it is that Kerry proved that they had a better bench, or at least the management proved that they could play their players at a better time. And in all fairness, a goal and 2 points were contributed from the bench, I suppose, and in Tommy Walsh. And I suppose the one thing, I was delighted for Tommy Walsh yesterday because delighted for 2 reasons for Tommy Walsh. The first ball that he kicked it wide. And I'll be honest with you, I had my hands in my head and I said, oh my God, where are we going here? The next thing he got it again and he took on a shot right over the back. What kind of bravery does that say about a fella? That he missed one, he took it on again, and you know what? It was a score that really should have pushed us a bit forward and won. And I suppose the one minus for us is that we didn't really build on it. But again, scores were hard to come by. There was very few scores actually scored from play. Shawnee Walsh kicked a perfect 10 from place. Well, not 10 from place balls, but outside Stephen O'Brien with a point, David Clifford got 2, and Killian got a point. We didn't get enough points from play, and for Tommy to contribute one was absolutely huge.
Yeah, great stuff, Donal. Of course, we'll go in depth into that second half performance between Kerry and Dublin after the 7 o'clock news. But I'll read a few comments before we go to that break. Good evening, everyone. Myself and my son were at Croke Park yesterday to witness not only 70 but almost 80 minutes of epic football. So proud of the team and management. We'll finish the job and Gurav Mihalamagiv Goleir, and that comes from Brindawn in Drummond. Peter Keane didn't get it all correct. Moynihan and Line were poor, White very poor, and never get a chance again. Glad we didn't win with 14 men because the Dubs would throw it in our face, and that comes from Mike. Hi, no man of the match on RTE live show on the Sunday game last night. Anyone know why? Sean O'Shea or McCaffrey for man of the match for me anyway. Who would the lads give it to? And well, we'll definitely have that after this break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry. Brought to you in association with BrianJames.ie. Leading the way for stylish menswear in Kerry. PM.
You're very welcome back here to Terrace Talk. I've Donal Barry, Denny Long, John Kennedy and Liam Brosnan in studio, and just want to get 1 or 2 comments before we go to the phone lines. A great performance by Kerry yesterday. Unfortunately, we couldn't see it through, but when we run at them, especially from the wings, we cause them problems. Just on a separate note, travelling home from the matches all after the match analysis, and the phone-in is over an hour after the match is over. It would be great travelling back to Dublin if post-match phone analysis was on around 8 p.m. Those travelling are missing out on the post-match reaction. That comes from Paul in Causeway. And noticed on the second viewing today, the ball boy behind the Dublin goal rolled the ball out to Cluxton to collect and take his kickouts, whereas Shane Ryan had to go back to get his ball. Could he instruct the ball boy as he wants it quite fast as well? Shane Ryan, slow scanning of the field for options at times too. Now we go to our phone line, and I should have a Cork man and a great GA man, John Finton Daly, on the line. Good evening, John.
Good evening, Tim.
You're very welcome to Terrace Talk. First of all, like I did to your fellow county man here, Denny Long, who's in studio with us, congratulations on a great win with the for the Cork Miners yesterday. Great performance.
Yeah, well, it's definitely. I think it's definitely a turning in the road for Cork Alright in football. With the 20s and the minors this time. And that hasn't happened I haven't checked it now, but it hasn't happened in a lot of years that we won both minor and what used to be under 21. Mind you, I'm not a big fan of it being under 17 and under 20, but look, that's another story. But it's all good news. Look, we know we have the numbers in Cork. We've always had it, but getting the best out of what we have has always been the problem.
Yeah, great stuff. Anyway, many congratulations to the Cork Miners. John, about the senior game yesterday, your thoughts? Complete outsiders, Kerry going in against the might of Dublin, going for a 5 in a row. What's your take on the Kerry performance?
Well, I don't know who you've been talking to. using the words complete outsiders is just way off the mark for me, because, I've discussed it with a lot of football people. Everyone has their own view, but I never considered Kerry as great rank outsiders, or very few people that know their football would have said that to me either. I suppose there was a view that Dublin were favourites, and rightly so, but there was never an issue of it being a one-horse race, not at all. We know Kerry have the forwards, and in a way, Tim, it's really, it often happens in eras in sport and in team sport where one team hands the baton over to another. One year ends, another year begins. And I think that's probably what's happening here, is that this Dublin team are probably coming to I wouldn't say the end of the line, but the domination that they've had is catching up with them. And Kerry definitely have the underage talent, and they have the know-how and the management to do the business. So outsiders, no. Mind you, the replay will be difficult for Kerry with what Dublin have learned yesterday. But listen, wasn't a great game for the neutral, and wasn't it great for Gaelic football, a shot in the arm to see football played like this.
And I go back to the media side of things again, Jonathan. When we look at the papers this morning, a number of high-profile journalists are writing that Kerry have lost their chance. Would you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that. I think, look, you can look at it positively from a Kerry point of view. They've been in an All-Ireland final. You can't recreate that kind of experience in players' minds and with the psychologists or in team meetings. You need to go through it. And as some of your contributors have said, these players have not played before 82,000 people before. It is a different experience, and this is massive for Kerry because they get a second go at this thing. Look, what's going to happen? A lot of us thought yesterday would be a bit of a shootout, that we'd have top forwards on both sides dominating the game, and that, Tim, isn't what happened. Some of the Kerry forwards didn't fire, but neither did some of the Dublin forwards fire. Kerry outplayed, probably shaded at midfield, which is why Kerry had the winning of this game. Whether Kerry will shade at midfield the next day, and depending on the formations, will decide a lot. But either way, it's positive for Kerry. And whether they win it the next day, I think other people said that, whether they win it or not the next day, the fact is that Kerry have gained a huge amount of experience in a short amount of time. And going forward, they're going to be very hard to beat because you cannot beat that kind of experience. And
Dublin, John, yesterday, they didn't they probably couldn't deal with the questions that Kerry were asking them, because normally we've seen them in different games in a 10-12 minute spell. They just put teams away. But Kerry never gave them that chance yesterday.
No, and for me, what says a lot for me is that Philly McMahon and Cian O'Sullivan have been mentioned in the programme already, and the fact that he didn't use them suggests to me that maybe the legs have sort of gone there. And he has, while Jim Garron has had a lot of quality options in his bench in the last couple of years, it has always been imbalanced because there's forward options he actually has on the bench, not defender options. And that's an interesting point about the Dermot Connolly situation, for example, because I thought he might bring him in and use him as a half-back because he's done that at club level. Dublin don't have as many quality options as you might be given to believe. Having said that, he's very shrewd, and they will play better the next day. And while Dublin don't have a huge amount of natural footballers, they're a very athletic bunch, they're very clued in, they're powerful runners with the ball, and they did carry the game to Kerry in the last 5 minutes, and you have to hand it to Dublin for their bravery. They haven't won what they've won for nothing, and Dublin will be hard to beat the next day. Both teams will look at it positively, but whether Kerry win or lose, it's good news for Kerry going forward anyway.
Great stuff, John. Thanks a million for coming on Terrace Talk this evening. And like I say, big congratulations again to the Cork side. We'll keep it in Munster, and I'm sure that you'll be up to that replay. Thanks a million for coming on, John.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's John Finton Daly there, well-known Corkman, well-known to Kerry clubs, been involved with clubs here in Kerry as well on the coaching side of things. Hi lads, I was in Croke Park yesterday and the Kerry team were fantastic. We're so proud of our team. Roll on 2 weeks, and as a referee I thought Gough had a good game yesterday. Kerry can only get better, and that comes from Maurice Murphy in Tralee. We need to put a man on McCaffrey who will stick to him like a second shirt. He kept Dublin in it for the penalty. Cluxton was so far off his line for it he could have taken the penalty kick himself. We will score more freely in the replay and win by 5, and that comes from Mark in Castleinton. Well done team in the interview with Joe Brawley. Donal O'Sullivan, hi Tim and Ambrose, can you please tell me where the ref got 7 minutes of injury time yesterday? I think this cost Kerry Kerry the match. With 4 minutes injury time, Kerry would have won. 7 minutes seemed to give Dublin a boost in hope. I think Kerry will win the replay. A great game from this young Kerry team. All of Kerry are proud of them, and Jack McCaffrey was allowed to go through the Kerry defence too often. Mark Griffin, a strong man, would have stopped him. A couple of shoulders from Mark would have slowed him down. That comes from a North Kerry listener. Denny Long, the second half, Kerry had to get back into this game, and to be fair, I suppose that 5-10 minute spell at the start of the second half, it was very important that they would stop Dublin first and impose their own game then.
Yeah, and I suppose, Dublin, when they went in at half time, they had to assess what impact playing with 14 men would have, and I think that Dublin went a bit more defensive than they normally would go, simply because they couldn't leave themselves exposed to 14 playing 15, even though in the modern game the extra man is hard enough to find, and there's everybody has an opinion whether Paul Murphy and where he should play, and whoever should be the loose man.
What do you think of that? Working with Paul Murphy as the extra man?
Yeah,
was it possible to get Stephen O'Brien as that extra man?
Well, you see, it possibly is, but it's quite difficult in the modern game, because there's no such thing as you marking one man. It's work rate, and I think we have to be fair to Dublin and say when they were down to 14 men, and particularly in the second half, they had to change their original game plan. The process that Jim Gavin always talks about went out the window slightly, and if you look at the fellas that made the difference, like Howard in the middle of the field was absolutely was brilliant. So Dublin upped the tempo of the game, and they had to work a lot harder. So that gave Kerry a bit more scope. But going back to the extra man, Paul Murphy, he went through it. He did everything right for the shot he took for the goal, but it was a brilliant save by Cluxton. People would be saying, it looked to be in the net, but it was a marvellous save. The extra man is hard. If I was in charge, I would put him closer to the opposition goal and make sure that somebody went up there to mark him. But it's difficult to do, particularly in an All-Ireland final.
Donal, what's your take on the extra man? That the one ball carry we have, and he has danger, he dips that shoulder, and to join, because the game wasn't falling for Stephen O'Brien, to get him on the ball, to use him as an extra man, it was something that was sent in to us here on Terrace Talk this afternoon.
I suppose one of the lines that we really needed to function yesterday was the half-forward line. I suppose you had Gavin Hyde, Sean Shea, Stephen O'Brien, but in all fairness, Jack McCaffrey was the trick that Dublin played on us, in the sense, because if you looked at him in the game against Mayo, he didn't perform that well. And I suppose when you go in and you get your setups right, and you're looking at players, he probably would have been one of the players Kerry didn't target, we'll say, in the matchups early on, based on how it's going on. Because if you think about Durkin from Mayo, absolutely, sure, he outscored him in the semi-final. When the extra man then happened, I suppose you're playing a sweeper system where Paul Murphy is automatically the extra man in a sense anyway, okay? And you can't kind of have a second extra man in a sense, and it's kind of hard. I know what Denny is saying, that you put somebody in, but do you know what? It's a very brave decision to make in an All-Ireland final, to put your extra man up there in the thoughts that they would mark him. And if you looked at yesterday, we'd say the kick-outs for Cluxton in particular, all of Kerry pushed up. At one stage yesterday, Shane Ryan was out nearly in the 30-yard line marking one of the Dublin players. He was 30 yards from his goal, and they were saying to Cluxton, right, drive that ball over not one line, two lines, but nearly three lines, and they were forcing Cluxton to get the ball in. The one thing that I suppose we discounted from Cluxton is that he's great for finding people. We're saying there that Gavin White didn't contest that ball that he lost over the head. That ball was played the right height for Howard to jump in, get the ball, win the ball, and they were off. That was a preconceived move. McCaffrey was gone. He didn't even look to know was Howard going to win it. He knew in his head that he had it won. That's why he had already 10 or 15 yards gone. And that's built up over time. It's very hard to have an extra man and say, what can we do with it? Because we tend to be negative with an extra man. We always say, just we have an extra man now, we'll keep it back. We'll go defence now, and we'll pass on the passes. Where we should have executed extra man really for me was in the last 5 or 6 minutes. where Dublin had to push the game, they had to push on us, and we were overturned a couple of times where we went into to space, and a couple of more experienced players were guilty of it. That's when your extra man comes in, because if you think about Dublin at that stage, they'd been playing 35 minutes with the 14, they were a bit tired, they were a bit leggy. We should have kept the ball away from them, we should have been going back and forward, and maybe doing kind of a Dr. Crokes thing and leading it out. We tried to do it, it didn't pay off. We gave away a couple of turnovers, and I suppose the one thing about it is that Dublin had the last 3 wides of the game, so even though we were with the extra man, Dublin had us under fierce pressure.
They had a lot of possession in that. After break, I've nice questions for John Kennedy and Liam Brosnan to field.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry, brought to you in association with BrianJames.ie, leading the way for stylish menswear in Kerry.
You're very welcome back here to Terrace Talk, and loads of comments coming into our programme tonight. Kerry should have got a second penalty in the second half for a blatant foul on Stephen O'Brien by Jack McCaffrey. Jonathan Lyne was also fouled by the sideline late in the game, which was completely ignored. And that comes from Jamie in North Kerry. Liam, that was a foul on Jonathan Lyne, to be fair.
It was a foul on Jonathan Lyne, yeah. The only thing I'd have to say about it really would be that Jonathan should have kept playing. He kind of stood up and kind of kept left his hands wide waiting for the free. We're always teaching young fellas, you play the whistle. Jonathan kind of just stood up, but yeah, it was a blatant free. The leg was taken from him.
I couldn't watch it properly. The last 10 minutes as it ebbed and flowed, Kerry should have gone for the juggler and pushed on when they seized the initiative. Gavin will give his lads some rollicking for not performing. Brilliant midfield display by Kerry yesterday, and that comes from Albie O'Reilly in Killarney. That's something we could have done, John, in the second half. But we talk about substitutes coming on, and is it fair to say that the Kerry subs had more of an impact than the Dublin subs?
There's no doubt, Tim. I suppose Adrian Spillane, number one, I suppose, came in there. He took his goal exceptionally well. A bit of luck about it beforehand. Was it Small that dropped the ball? Tommy Welch picked it, put Adrian through. He had quite a lot of work to do and stuck it with his left leg. Fantastic goal against a keeper like Cluxton, and that lifted the whole stadium. But the point he kicked him in front of the Hogan stand with the left leg for a young player, fantastic. Coming on, he made a huge impact. 1-1. Tommy Welch, delighted for Tommy, like Donal.
He had brilliant vision, Killian Spillane. After, I suppose a bit of fortune for Tommy Welch in picking up, because he had to reach down for that ball, but great vision by him.
Another player, Tim, he'd be happy with a point, he'd be happy to take a point.
He went for the juggler.
And we needed the goal at the time. Tommy, he came on, he showed his experience. He had a terrible wide. He knew it himself, but
have the confidence to go.
And the minute he kicked it, it curled the crowd. The crowd knew it, and it again, it was a huge score for Tommy, and delighted for him to come back after such a serious injury. Jonathan Lyne and Dara Moynihan, they all played the part. Jack Sherwood, he added pace to it.
Like you talk about Dara Moynihan. Dara Moynihan went back in his own full back line and picked up a ball from that breaking ball by Shane Ryan. It was Gavin that pulled Dara that pulled that out of defence. But every guy knows his job when this Kerry set up.
His job, and we said it here a few weeks ago, Tim, that we're building a panel nicely, we're building a squad. There's real competition to get on to 26. There was fellas left out that could have been on and maybe should have been on, but
might be on, yes.
Or might be on, so we're obviously there's great competition inside in training, and that's the secret for any team, to have guys on their toes. Nobody's complacent, and the guys coming off are not letting the team down. They're as good as the guys coming off. And coming on, and they're creating and they're adding something to it, which is very, very important. They're just not making up the numbers.
Yeah, definitely so. Comment from John in Killarney: where is James O'Donoghue? Donal Barry. I take it he was in with the Kerry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's certainly one of the 38, but as John says, you're talking about 38 fellas fighting for 26 places. Where is he? I don't know where he is. I don't even at this stage. People are saying what does he even look like, because they probably haven't seen him in such a while. But the one thing about it is that since training is closed down, and we'll say they're training behind closed doors, the only people that know what is going on are the people inside those walls. They're the people that we trust to make the right decisions. They're the people that we trust to pick the right 15 and indeed the right 26. And I suppose, we can theorise all we want about players.
Are you surprised that Killian Young isn't being used?
No, I'm not surprised that Killian Young's not being used, because in all fairness, you're knitting in a team, that you want to bid in. And I suppose at the end of the day,
but he's on that panel.
He's on that panel. Well, he's on that panel for experience.
Is that for the younger guys?
I would believe that there's a certain amount of players on that panel that are needed inside in the dressing room at half time to get into players' heads and to give them the experience. Because if you look at it, it's a very overloaded, inexperienced bunch of players, and and you need players. You need players who have been there, done that. Killian is a fantastic footballer, always has been a fantastic footballer, committed to the cause.
He'd be very level-headed for the young guys.
I would think that there's certain players on that panel in there for different reasons. I mean, like there's young players like Dan Sheehan inside there. There's young players like Liam Carney inside there. They're all there to learn. Do you know what I mean? If you think about it, this isn't about winning this All-Ireland. This is about putting a team together for the next 3, 4, 5 years and a generation of players. A lot of the other players will be stepping aside.
A lot of Kerry folk could question you there, Donal, when you say it's not about winning this All-Ireland. Every year we go out in Kerry, we want to win it.
Well, we do, absolutely. And we want to go win next year's one and the year after. It's much good winning this year's one and not winning another one for a couple of years. I think that the most important thing Peter Ken has said from the word go, he is building a team, he is building a process, he is building as you go along. And it is one match by match.
Process is Jim Gavin's word, isn't it?
Well, you know,
we're listening a lot to the Dubs. You're a journalist.
Yeah. Process is the word used by successful managers that win All-Ireland.
Highlights an amazing display from Kerry Warriors, every one of them. Special mentions to the Kerry management team. They've had to plan every game. Poor Tom O'Sullivan was gasping for water. No sign of one at the Cusick stand side. Can't wait for Saturday week. Yours in Sport, Jacqueline. Denny, something has come up on Facebook or social media today that people notice at times that I think the Mayorishka, you could stand corrected in this, is Jason Sherlock.
Yeah.
He's the Mayorishka, that at times when Shane Ryan was trying to kick ball into space, that sometimes maybe that space was crossed over by certain Mayorishkas. Is that something in the game now? I take it, John. What are they? I know you're married to a Dublin woman, but the Mayorishka in Dublin, I take it they're wearing blue tracksuits.
Well, he's the Mayor Ferner.
Mayor Ferner.
Yeah. You're entitled to come on the field as the Mayor Ferner.
He's a dark top.
But are you entitled to run into space when the Kerry goalkeeper is trying to kick it into space?
I think, Tim, that himself and Tommy Griffin, the two of them, should be told before the match ever starts. Right, stay in your position, because it was quite annoying to see fellas running into the field. I don't think it's a good image for the GA. Now,
obviously the manager wants to get out instructions.
He does.
But you could actually manipulate the whole situation, couldn't you?
And that's what teams are doing.
And that's what's happening. And I think that the people, again, let's go back to the officials. You know, we're saying there that there was freeze on both sides yesterday, that the referee missed the one with Jonathan Lyon. The linesman was nearly up in his back, and the linesman did nothing about it. Now, somebody said to me today, the linesman can't do anything about it.
He can't do anything about it, didn't he know?
Isn't it time, and Liam was right, isn't it time that the linesman could do something about it? The very same as Tommy Griffin and Jason Sherlock and all the other fellas involved with teams. They shouldn't be allowed in unless a player is injured. Now, if it's a very, very warm day, by all means, you know, let him take in water. But it's very annoying I presume it's annoying for players, but if it's an advantage, managers will use it.
Liam, you're a manager. Well, you're a manager in two different areas at the moment. You're in Brosnan and you're a manager of the IT. Was it something that you would bring into your repertoire?
Well, I don't know about that level, Tim, but look, we're talking about inter-county football now, and it's every percentage that teams are going to try to look to see can they get an advantage. Not only is Jason Sherlock running the field, but if you spot their medical team, the minute a man hits the ground...
There's something happened recently, didn't it, in the Galway game?
The Mayo game.
The hurling game as well. Was it hurling or was it the Galway game?
Oh yeah, the hurling was Kennedy. He caught the ball.
But you
caught the ball. That's right. So obviously it is happening.
Yeah, it is happening, yeah. And like if you're a goalkeeper and next thing you're looking for space and you see a dark jersey, which could be Jason Sherlock's bib, Mark just running into the field, it just puts you off for that split second. So yeah, teams are taking advantage of it. It might be something that Croke Park will have to look at. I know there's guidelines, because when I was involved with John, we used to be getting letters sent out to us that you can't do this and you can't do that. But managements don't care about it now. It's about winning. Like we saw yesterday, Kerry came out 6 minutes before they were supposed to come out. You know, they weren't supposed to come out at that time, but they came out. So it's all about getting the edge, and that's what teams are taking it to the line and probably stepping over the line then as well.
John, you manage SD now.
I have enough rules now, I'd say, Tim, besides bringing in more in fairness. Like.
Yeah.
But John, you're manager. Are you speaking with your manager?
Well,
you're manager of SD now. Say you're playing Knocknagoshal, high profile
John has
game.
4-4 Mayor Fornes.
How many?
I would say, Tim, we've been involved in Croke Park and we've been involved in myself in a Munster final down in Cork. It's a totally different situation to a club game. You're talking about 82,000 people yesterday. How can you tell when we'll be here criticising and saying, why didn't Kerry move this for that? How can you tell Paul Murphy or Gavin Crowley to change men and to go if you don't go in there? And Tommy Griffin, he must be one of the fittest men around, because he has to go in and you can't come back out. You have to go to the far side of the field.
Yeah, you
and
have to keep going.
Of course, Jason Sherlock does the same. But any advantage you get, you'll take it.
But isn't
and it's up to the 4 or the 6 officials that are there, the 4 umpires and the 2 linesmen and the ref, to do something about it. But they don't. But as on the water,
you're tough out, John
on the
Kennedy.
water, like Donal said a while ago, there can be a lad gasping for water, but you can't go in until there's a break in play. You're throwing a bottle of water into a guy. I think it's ridiculous.
Are you saying that when somebody's... Could we fake an injury? Could a team fake an injury?
Oh, yeah.
So the doctor goes out.
So the doctor run out. A couple of Dublin guys hit
Just
the
to give
ground.
a message.
I was watching
Or to disrupt.
Just to disrupt things, yeah. In the last 10 or 15 minutes, there was a couple of Dublin fellas hit the ground.
It's all coming out tonight, Liam.
And the 2 boys ran straight in, like they were like a train. They just ran straight into him. And a couple of times the referee just said, keep playing.
Because
you're not
But Tim, another thing there, now just came up a few minutes ago, like Cork won the All-Ireland in a cracking game yesterday, particularly the second half and the extra time. They were being presented with a cup. It's no fault of Kerry. They obviously had their timing. They were to go out, and when you have guys tuned and ready to bust the door out, there's no way holding them back. But they went out when Cork were in their hour of glory, right? And the Dubs came out afterwards. Cork tried to do a lap of honour, which they're entitled in Croke Park. Some of them might never get back there,
Right.
and some of them will, because they look to be a very good and a very good team with some good individuals. But they had to go through the drills that the Dubs were doing for the goalies, for Cluxton and his men over in the corner. That shouldn't happen.
Yeah. They should be allowed their
There's
moment.
enough of officialdom there, and there's guys being paid for everything in Croke Park yesterday, walking around with suits and walkie-talkies. They should keep the guys inside in the dressing room and give Cork their time.
But dead right,
If it was Kerry, Tim, we'd be giving out tonight about it.
Yeah, but
and
they
I'd have to
deserve
say,
their moment of
for
glory.
the Dubs in the Hill and for the Kerry supporters, the reception Cork got when they did their lap of honour was fantastic. It was great to see it because it was a super final and they deserved their win.
Hi Tim, are Kerry folk happy with a Cork referee for the replay, or will they be cribbing again? By the way, look out for Cork after winning the double All-Irelands up the Rebels. The only thing I'd say to that comment, we don't mind where our ref is from once there's fair play. And as far as Cork are coming back, and I agree they are, that's only good for Kerry because Kerry will have to up their game. So many congratulations to the Cork side. Great commentating by yourself and Ambrose yesterday, Tim. You should rest your voice box for a few days. I'd agree 100% with Liam Brosnan with the idea of taking the pressure off young Gavin White and give captaincy to some experienced player. Tim, you would do very well as a solicitor or senior counsel with the way you put Joe Brawley to the sword about his comments at half-time on telly, and that comes from an Kerry listener. I'm tired of listening how poorly Dublin played. They played as well as they were allowed. Suddenly they looked ordinary, and some of the media can't handle that Kerry are the first serious team they have met in years, and that comes from Tom and Ballymac. Why don't you balance your programme and comment on the Kerry red card that wasn't given for persistent fouling on Conor O'Callaghan? Denny, we let a Corkman feel that.
Yeah, Tim, if you look at all games, either club games and particularly inter-county games, well, everything is highlighted by television and playbacks and what have you. If we take all the little pushing and shoving out of it, we'll have no game. Now, I think that Conor O'Callaghan yesterday possibly was foul, but it's very hard to say at close contact what is actually a foul. So I'd have a bit of pity for Johnny Cooper, even though there was persistent fouling. It's debatable whether he should be sent off or not, but look, he was sent off and the rule is there and that's it. But a referee can't say, this fella's pushing it. Of course, Conor O'Callaghan was a huge danger to Kerry. They knew that. He's a bit of a goal machine and he goes for goals. So the thing to do is be as close as possible to him. Now, he's going to be pushing. The Kerry fullback is going to be pushing. Everybody's going to be pushing and shoving. That's part of the game. But if you try to make it totally no touch, no contact, then there'll be nobody going to it.
Yeah, definitely so. And of course, after that Kilkenny game when Richie Hogan was sent off, that they're saying it changed the game. But one great line the following day in one of the newspapers was that a referee is not there to entertain. A referee is in there to implement the rules. If it changed the game.
And in fairness, Tom Sullivan didn't get a second or yellow card because it wasn't persistent fouling.
No.
That was his second foul in the
that's
whole
the point
game.
we mentioned, actually. It was persistent.
It was a tick.
It was a tick.
It was absolutely. And you know, a lot of the media are linked up now to the referee, and they're actually
And that's what the referee said, yeah.
and listening and hearing. And you know, I suppose, look, we might as well say it before we be for other things. I think David Goff has to be complimented for the good game that he had yesterday. I think, you know, he was put under an awful lot of pressure from every end. And if you think about it, we were talking about the players going around. He walked out into the field with 82,000 people. It's a huge.
And to be fair, David Goff gave frees to Dublin in 21-yard frees, a 14-yard freeze. So you couldn't say that he was one-sided yesterday.
Well, look, I'll be honest with you. Okay,
I thought he was fair.
We can go back to the calls. The Jonathan Lyne call, he got wrong. But at the end of the day, the linesman was 2 feet away from it. You know, he got the call wrong for the penalty. It's definitely Stephen O'Brien. But again, I suppose in his own head, he had given the penalty. You know, again, your referee, you're saying probably in your own head, I've given one. Your man was off the line. Obviously, he was a foot off the line. But again, was it a great penalty? I personally, it wasn't. It should have been in the back of the net before he even came off the line. And, you know, these are the things. Now we're going to be focusing on poor Conor Lane because, you know, he's from Banteer. He's only over the road. The Dublin media will focus in on this and say, you know, this guy probably... I hope he doesn't have a caravan in Derrynane or somewhere out of the way, because otherwise, you know, we're going to have the whole situation with David Goff all over again. But what I would like to know is why would the GA put somebody like David Goff in the position that he was put in, and why would they put Conor Lane in the position that he will be in now for the next 2 weeks?
Because they're two good referees.
But surely, and this was the debate coming down Radio 1 yesterday evening, if you have a Munster and a Leinster county, surely there's two great referees in the other two provinces as well, and just keep a thing completely neutral. Why can that be a thing?
And my debate about that, Tim, was, and we have said it here so many times, is one referee. Can we take this attitude? You know, the game has exploded now. It's gone to professional speed and the whole lot. We have linesmen who are actually just a 10-year-old child can do it. All their decision really is the ball's gone out over the line.
Who put it
they
out
can't
there?
do it. I saw it up on Twitter today. They were on about the umpire watching Cluxton and the thing, and he's dead in line. Not the umpire's call. The umpire cannot call that. The umpire is only looking directly at the line just to make sure the ball has gone over the line. He's not worried about the goalkeeper on the line. You know, so it has to go down to Croke Park. They have to look at the whole whole thing,
because the game has gone into another level.
Different sphere. Yeah,
we've plenty more after this break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry. Brought to you in association with BrianJames.ie. Leading the way for stylish menswear in Kerry.
You're very welcome back here to Terrace Talk, and those comments coming through to us. Cluxton played full back on Tommy Welsh for the last few minutes when Dublin were looking to win it. We couldn't get the ball into him. Too many turnovers. That comes from Dennis and Killarney. Dublin have won 3 finals by only 1 point. They don't dominate teams in finals. That comes from Michael Barrett. A lot of comments there about Jim Gavin's loyalty to his old hands. Not very loyal to bring Connolly with his checkered history into the 26 and into the game. That comes from Harry and Killarney. And where else are we going? Patrick O'Mahony, this message comes by way of Facebook. A great game yesterday by the Kerry team. Good, clean footballers. Played the way the game should be played by Kerry. Super commentary to go with it. Jory from Ballyduff says that the Dublin team are overrated. The game was there for Kerry yesterday, and it'll be there for them in the replay. Now, Kerry caller wants to know how come they didn't support some of the young Kerry players with experience of Killian Young and David Enright. A Causeway caller says that Kerry were probably afraid of going in against Dublin yesterday, but now it's Dublin who are afraid of Kerry. Tim, what a performance by Sean O'Shea in the Cauldron. We should be very proud of the way these lads played. Heads up and roll on next week. Donal Barry, the performance of don't belied his years yesterday. 21 years of age, and Mikey Sheehy spoke to me last week we were doing an outside broadcast over in the Rose Hotel for Comfort for Chemo Kerry, and he said the only way he used to enjoy the hill. And John, you were the same way. You were a free taker. He used to enjoy the hill, and he said the only way I could quieten him is to put that ball. It only motivated you to put it over the bar.
Absolutely. I was listening to Pat Spillane actually today, and he was on about Sean O'Shea, and he said, like, he obviously from Timperlane, he knew from Kimere. He says the amount of hours and hours and hours that Sean O'Shea puts into practicing his free kicks outside of training, outside of football, and you know, it's an amazing skill. And I suppose, you know, if you practice long enough, you hone it, and it becomes fantastic. But the one thing that would worry me about it is that he has scored 1/3 of Kerry's scores for the whole year, nearly all frees. Now, he had a fantastic game. He didn't miss a thing. But had he missed one shot, had he missed one wide, you know, we need more players to kind of step up on more days. And I suppose that's the one thing.
Had that something to do with the way we set up though yesterday as well, that we'd one less forward because of our 7 backs and 3 midfielders?
Well, in all fairness, his performance from play was fantastic. I mean, he scored 2 fantastic points. I can remember the one that Tommy Walsh won down in Truman. He was nearly shoved out over the line, but he still was able to get over the line. The one thing that I was delighted for Sean Shea yesterday, and I suppose it's probably a side point, is that I'm delighted Dean Rock didn't score the winning point, because if he did, we'd probably be all around here saying, why did Sean Shea give away the free? Why did he push him over the line?
They wouldn't look at the 10 points he scored.
And they wouldn't look at the 10 points. But we're a fickle crowd fans. I mean, we're here, we're grateful to have him. But the other thing that was that I think he was in the same style and fashion as the likes of Maurice Fitzgerald yesterday. He was as valuable.
That level.
He was at that level and that valuable. And the other thing about it is that he's a lot younger coming to Croke Park than Maurice Fitz was when he was hitting his peak.
Because that was a very poor time in football.
Absolutely, and we weren't getting in here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, absolutely, Sean Shea won to look out.
Yeah, definitely either Young Player of the Year or Player of the Year. Congrats to the Cork Miners. Well done to the Kerry crowd who gave them great support. And I take it that comes from one of your colleagues down in Cork, Denny. Tim and the panel, what do you think of Shane Wright? Would he have done better job in marking Jack McCaffrey? He was the man who put the nail in the coffin, scoring 1 goal and 3 points. That comes from Trish Griffin in Tarbert. Liam?
Yeah, look, I suppose Kerry went out looking like Gavin White would have the legs for him. I honestly don't know, would Shane Wright be able to follow Jack up and down the field? To be honest, looking at Jack yesterday, there were many fellas that would, at the pace he was going yesterday, would attract Jack McCaffrey. I suppose the way we set up on their kick out, it was high risk for high reward, and I do think it worked. It worked a lot for us, but if it didn't work, you were letting yourself open for that. So when Gavin White was supposed to be marking Jack on the kick out, he wasn't. So Jack was free. But like Donal said earlier, the minute that ball was floated, Howard had it caught, McCaffrey was gone. If I watched a bit of it last night on TV, if you saw the speed of him, he didn't even know where the ball was. Jack didn't even know where the ball was. He just instinctively knew where he was going, and the ball just bounced in front of him and he went off. Fantastic goal. But it's something that I suppose that Kerry will have to watch going in. That they'll probably, I don't think they'll base all their tactics on watching Jack McCaffrey. I know he kicked 1-3 yesterday, but like I do think that
he's a phenomenal player actually.
There's a lot of Dublin fellas that could do that on a day, so Kerry will have to watch a lot of fellas.
Gavin White, did any one of our panels see the sandwich tackle on White and followed up by Paul Mannion when White was going down? White was tended to for some time. Happened in the first half around the Kerry 45. That comes from John Keane in Listowel. Did you spot that one, John?
Oh, I saw him down alright, Tim. It was one of those ones coming at pace, like he was the meat and the sandwich, and he has come in for a bit of that this year, Tim.
He has come in for attention, hasn't he?
He has. In 2 of the games he was down with a head injury, and he he's a kind of a player that attracts that attention. He's a runner.
He's a runner, yeah.
And when there's a collision, it's a heavy collision, and certainly he has come in for that. And I think Gavin White has a lot to offer. He's playing a role that's alien to him, I think, being honest with you. I think Gavin White's best, the most we'll gain out of Gavin White for Kerry is in a wing-back position, attacking.
Could you revert to wing-back for the replay?
I think he could. I think he could do for Kerry what Jack McCaffrey does for Dublin.
Yeah. He's
now,
massive.
He's a young lad and he's gaining experience.
He wants to be going forward from his wing-back.
And when he came on the scene first, he was doing that. But now he's trying to track and be a defender, against one of the top wing backs in the game.
He's a serious footballer. And, it would be unfair to pick him out here tonight. I think, it wasn't a good day for him, but he'll have better days. But sure, he was up against one of the
Tim
best
also, with the role that he's playing, we're losing a scoring forward position.
Yeah.
We're down a forward.
We actually had 2 of them yesterday, which Killian Spillane gone as well.
Spillane and Kevin. So you're limiting your forwards. Yeah.
Very good point. Congrats to Kerry team for an amazing performance, and they'll do it the next day. Hope to God they bring on Tommy Welsh 10 minutes into the second half and give him high ball in. Every ball he got yesterday, he worked well. That comes from a North Kerry lady. Michael Fox O'Connor thinks that Joe Brawley is a disgrace and should be taken off TV for his comments yesterday. Congratulations to the management and the team for their game yesterday. One negative is that I think a point should have been taken instead of trying to go for goal. When a chance of a score comes, it should have been availed of. It lifts the opposition when you miss it like we did yesterday. That comes from a Kilcummin caller. Kathleen O'Sullivan and Cara Savine, very proud of Kerry. They will win the replay, and we listened to Tim and Ambrose coming home on the bus and really enjoyed it. You give a great service. Hi Tim. All the talk after the match yesterday was on Cooper's unfair dismissal, but there's a little or no mention of the penalty that Kerry should have in the second half, and in fact Cluxton was 2 feet off his line when the Kerry penalty was taken. That comes from Shane Intrally via WhatsApp. Morris Long of Birmingham, well done to the lads yesterday and for a great commentary. Well done to the team. It was the first All-Ireland I missed in 50 years. I'm quite sure they will win the replay. Jim Gavin is mic'd to the hilt. Is he communicating with the backroom staff high up in the upper decks where often the game patterns can be seen better than when they're on the same level? No mics on the Kerry management. Gavin White not able for McCaffrey. This needs to be addressed, and that comes from John Fitzgerald via Twitter. You need to calm down. Kerry are neither as bad as people were saying they were 48 hours ago or as good as people are saying now. Kerry have a good show to the argument that the team sometimes play better with 14 is pure rubbish. If that was the case, no one take the field on a day with 14 men. I don't agree with that comment, because we've seen, Denny Long, that teams up their performance when you have to up the game. You have to use tactics when you're down to 14. We've seen teams in the past win with 14 players coming from behind.
Yeah, and I think if my memory serves me right, over the last number of years, Dublin have played with 14 on a number of occasions. I think it's quite hard in the modern game to utilise, like I said before, the extra man. But I suppose the one disappointing thing, without being critical of anything that Kerry did yesterday, was that, I suppose, coming away from the game, when the referee blew the final whistle, you look back and you say, OK, Kerry had an extra man for 45 minutes, right? And that they didn't score in the last 12 or 13 minutes. That probably, they will probably say to themselves deep down, and the management will say, that's one we left behind us. And I think that's one that Dublin saved. So both managers, Jim Gavin will be saying, we held out for 45 or 46 minutes with 14 men. And then Peter Keane will be saying, we probably should, and they, being honest about it, I think Kerry should have won that game.
With plenty of goal chances.
Yeah, Kerry had chances to win the game. And I think the disappointing thing about it is that in the last 12 or 13 minutes that they didn't score. And I think that will haunt them a bit. But the replay is quite open. Kerry are going to the replay in a much stronger position. They have played Dublin. Dublin are not invincible, but it'll take a huge effort again the next day to get to the level Kerry were at yesterday, and it'll be another cracker probably.
Yeah, definitely so. And after this break, I'll be asking the lads who'll win that replay. We now take a break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry, brought to you in association with BrianJames.ie, leading the way for stylish menswear in Kerry.
You're very welcome back here to Terrace Talk, and I want to get through some of those comments. Everyone's saying Dublin players didn't perform. They weren't left performed by Kerry. The Kerry lads more of the same the next day, and that comes from Kilcummin. Mary in Listowel. I was in Croke Park yesterday and was brilliant. I was up on the hill and had great fun and crack. However, why was the Dublin song performed before the game and no Kerry's song? So unfair, and it went on for at least 5 minutes. Plus, based on what I saw yesterday, Dublin fans got far more tickets than Kerry, and I'd say it was 3-1 was the difference. I was surrounded by Dublin supporters yesterday. Great bunch of supporters. Advert caller wants to know where the ref got 7 minutes of added time yesterday. Dingle caller said they're going to have to get someone who can mark McCaffrey properly. So Kerry caller says that Dublin brought Diarmuid Connolly back into the panel. A lot of Dublin players didn't want him back, and I think that was a problem with him yesterday. Liam, is that fair to say that I think there was an article written yesterday in one of the papers where Alan Brogan wasn't too happy because probably, his brother missed out.
Yeah, and you could see, and I suppose that was the first crack, I suppose, Tim, with a few weeks ago when we saw Connolly being brought back. I don't think any other county or any other manager would have done it. A guy that was going to America, who was stopped at the airport, and then comes back and walks onto the county panel again. I honestly, it just showed that there's something not right there. Came on yesterday, took a shot, missed it.
Went over, he'd be hero.
But then he had an opportunity for a second shot. The old Diarmuid Connolly would have taken it, but he kicked it backwards. So things aren't all.
It's really hard to come into a county set up so late in the season.
It is, yeah. But I wouldn't be one bit surprised, Tim. And I said it to the boys earlier that I wouldn't mind if he starts the next day. I wouldn't be one bit surprised if he starts at number 6 for Dublin next day.
John, would you agree with that?
He could start him.
Oh, you're a man now that said me months ago that Mayo would win the All-Ireland.
He could start him. In fairness, I think Gavin, I said he's shrewd. He hasn't become a bad manager overnight.
Well, he will try something.
Right or wrong, you'll do for a team, the best, and he felt that Diarmuid Connolly had a part to play. He might know deep down more than we do how guys are going, and the Philly McMahons are going backwards, and the Keane O'Sullivans. Liam could be right. Connolly could play a part. But Tim, just for one thing, we were talking there after break. Michael O'Brien from Killarney was interviewed on the sideline in Croke Park yesterday.
Yeah.
I'll tell you now, he was an inspiration.
Yeah, we had him a few weeks ago here in
for his
Terrace Park.
family and for the Kerry supporters and for his school and everybody that's involved with him.
Comes across so well.
It was absolutely brilliant. Everybody around me, wherever
And
they
huge
were from,
applause.
Huge applause. What you know, if he's representing our county in one of the youth with a disability he has, he's a credit.
Yeah, great stuff.
We were
yesterday.
proud to be associated with Kerry yesterday with the way he spoke.
Yeah,
He
and
was
everyone in the Croke Park Stadium listened to him, and he got a huge round of applause. Well done to young Michael O'Brien. Denny, the replay, can we see changes on the Kerry side?
I don't think so, Tim. I don't think so. Obviously, they're going to have a look at the Jack McCaffrey thing, simply because, going into the game, Kerry had 3 marquee forwards, Clifford, Gainey and O'Brien. Dublin had 3 marquee forwards and a back. Jack McCaffrey outscored them all from play. He scored 1 try. The goal with his right leg, a point with his left, a point with his right, and he fisted a point. It was marvellous. Now, Kerry obviously are not going to allow him to do that the next day. Not easy stop him. Like Liam said early on, he made the move for the goal, and there was no ball around. But he knew that if he went and if things worked out the way they did, the chances are that he was in for a goal, and that's the way it happened. There was a bit of luck on it, obviously, as well. Everything had to go right. I don't think Kerry will make any changes. I think Dublin will make 1 or 2. I think Connolly has no chance.
Are we saying then that Dublin are under pressure? So if we're saying that Kerry...
Not really. Not really, Tim. I think the thing that Dublin found out yesterday, that they have 1 or 2 players. I think Darragh Macaulay is one. Everyone says when a player is coming to an end, he gave great service. Of course he gave great service, but time catches up. Darragh Macaulay was found wanting.
But if we're saying then, if Jim Gavin is as ruthless as he is, yes, why isn't he gone and somebody replaced him?
I think that's what he'll do. I think he's going to make a change in the middle of the field, and I think he'll never again put Johnny Cooper on David Clifford. I think he got that match-up wrong. It was like when everything is going well for you, right? Everyone says, he'll never make a mistake. But when you come under a bit of pressure...
You do make mistakes.
You do. And 5 in a row. You talk to the Kerry players, and I read a couple of articles yesterday about the 5 in a row in 82. Kerry had a marvellous team in 82. Kerry probably had the best 6 forwards that ever played the game in 82. And where were most of them? The most of them were playing back in the backs in the last 10 minutes of the game.
They were under pressure.
Under pressure. And that's what happens with pressure. Now, I think Kerry will probably start with the same 15. They got a hell of a lot out of Jack Barry. He's another Fortin's training. That's going to be huge for him. He's going to get plenty of ball work. Now, Dublin, I think, will make a change in the middle of the field, and they probably will put Howard in the middle of the field, and they'll bring in a forward. That's my opinion.
Donal Barry, that press conference yesterday afternoon, I asked Jim Gavin, is the pressure of 5 in a row getting to the management and getting to the team itself? And he said it's only Tim Moynihan that thinks that. What do you think?
Well, I was listening to an interview from Johnny Cooper leading up into it, and somebody says to him, you're going for 5 in a row, and he had to say, 5 in a row. Are we going for 5? He says. Don't know. So I think there's.
But is all that sort of? I suppose Donald Trump calls it fake news. Is all that sort of thing is only rubbish to try and?
Well, I suppose.
People are infiltrating.
The one thing that I've always associated with Dublin, they're fantastic players. They're fantastic athletes. They're fantastic individuals, but when they come into the Dublin team, they become part of a unified, uniformed, emotionless kind of people. They don't seem to have a great emotion what they're doing, and that probably stems down. And that's the way certain managers will run their camp. You don't see that in the Peter Kane side of it. He's nearly the complete opposite. But the one thing I would say about is that Adrian Spillane went off injured, I think, yesterday. That could leave an opening or a headache, depending on whether you're trying to change your team. I think Dublin will have to change their midfield. I think Dublin have a great footballer in Sean Bugler. He's no All-Ireland medal. Out of the whole 36 of them, he's no All-Ireland medal. And I think, to upset Kerry, Dublin will need to bring somebody in that we haven't seen or that we haven't got anything or attention of. And for the Jack McCaffrey, I think the only person on the whole Kerry team that can mark him is Stephen O'Brien. And I think you put Stephen O'Brien on him, and at least that way, Jack McCaffrey will think twice about going forward, because Stephen can go in behind him as well. So that's what I would see would happen.
Certainly interesting, lads. I want to thank you tonight for coming on Terrace Talk. Denny Long, Donal Barry, John Kennedy and Liam Brosnan. Of course, congratulations to Jordan Lee winning the high jump at the World Para Athletics Grand Prix in Paris, clearing 1.92 metres. And of course, Monica Dukasca's efforts over the weekend means that Ireland will have a double women's boat in the Olympic in 2020. Many thanks to them. And of course, tonight as well, I want to thank, of course, Linda McAuliffe and Matthew Green for helping the lead up to the All-Ireland final. So massive outside broadcast. We had great feedback to that. And during there was two of them. There was one in the Rose Hotel here in Tralee on Thursday night, and likewise the Glen Eagle on the Friday night. And there was a great buzz around the county and great help here from the team here on Terrace. Of course, our producer as well, Eamon Hickson. And now I come to the final comment of the night, and it comes from Alan Groke. Of course, he was a great friend of the late Wishy, and he says, Tim, I was thinking of the verse yesterday from Sigerson Clifford's ballad, written about the All-Ireland that went to a replay against Kildare in 1926. We won that replay, but unfortunately the young Jack Murphy from Carrick, who was the man of the match in the drawn game, but got pneumonia after the match and passed away before the replay. Still, his memory lives on with Jack Murphy Cup in South Kerry. Loud and long we held the inquest steaming from the hometown Dublin, and we wrote down who kicked well and who played poor. But John Pete agreed that me and all the luck was with Dublin, and Bobby Doyle maintained we'd win the next time sure. We will chalk the scoreboard and chalk the green and gold, said Taylor, white teeth grinning like a shark. Sure, we only took the measure and we'll cut the cloth scale when we take the ghost train 2 weeks for Croke Park.